When we talk about spiritual awakening, many people imagine a serene, blissful experience, filled with moments of deep meditation, inner peace, and unwavering clarity. There's a common belief that once you reach a state of awakening, life becomes effortless, balanced, harmonious, and free of confusion. But the truth is far more complex and far more human. The awakening process is rarely gentle. It's more like a storm than a sunset. It doesn't arrive with soft whispers, but often crashes into your life, upending your sense of identity, comfort, and reality itself. What unfolds is not just a mental or emotional unraveling, but a physical one too. You may find yourself questioning everything, including your own reflection. Spiritual awakening can be chaotic, disorienting, and even frightening at times. One moment you feel deeply connected to everything, the next you feel completely lost. The highs are euphoric, and the lows can feel like an abyss. But through this turbulence, something extraordinary is happening. Your inner world is being rewritten. Old beliefs, identities, and patterns are dissolving, making space for something more aligned, more real, more you. And here's the part few people talk about. The body is not left behind in this transformation. It participates fully. You might notice subtle shifts or dramatic changes in your physical appearance. Your face, posture, weight, or even the energy you emit might begin to shift. It's not vanity, it's vibration. The body, in its infinite wisdom, begins to shed the energetic baggage it's been carrying, often for years or even lifetimes. As you dive into deeper self-awareness and healing, your body responds by purging what no longer serves you. Trauma, suppressed emotions, stored stress, they don't just live in your thoughts. They live in your muscles, your fascia, your organs. And as these energies begin to release, your body reorganizes itself to reflect a new internal state. Some people experience unexpected weight loss or gain. Others notice their skin clearing, posture improving, or eyes becoming brighter. These shifts are not coincidences. They're signs that your body is recalibrating to a higher frequency, preparing to support a more expansive level of consciousness. It's like tuning a radio. Your entire being is adjusting to pick up a new signal. What may seem unsettling at first, a sudden change in appetite, sleep, body composition, is often the body's way of saying, we're moving forward, we're letting go. Even temporary imbalances are part of the deeper intelligence at work. You're not falling apart, you're realigning. So rather than resisting the strange or unfamiliar, it's vital to trust the intelligence of the process. Let your body do what it knows how to do. Honor its signals. These shifts are not symptoms of something wrong, but indicators that something is awakening within you. The outer changes reflect an inner evolution, a return to your most authentic self. What's most essential during this transformation is to resist the urge to cling to appearances. As your body shifts and morphs in ways that may feel unfamiliar or even unsettling, it's important to trust the natural intelligence that lives within you. Your body is not malfunctioning, it's healing. It's doing the sacred work that your conscious mind may not yet understand. This isn't a time for control, it's a time for surrender. Trying to micromanage the process through diets, routines, or resistance only disrupts what the body knows how to do best: evolve. The most compassionate act you can offer yourself is trust. Trust in the process. Trust in your body's deep wisdom. Trust that you are being led somewhere far greater than what you can currently comprehend. Flowing with the transformation, rather than fighting it, becomes a form of grace. As the awakening deepens, one of the most striking and often unexpected shifts occurs in the eyes. Not just in how they look, but in what they reveal. The eyes, often called the windows to the soul, begin to radiate something far beyond physical beauty. They shimmer with a new kind of clarity, a softness, a depth. Something ancient and eternal begins to look back at the world through your gaze. This transformation is not cosmetic, it's energetic. As old emotional blockages begin to release, some conscious, many unconscious, the field of energy surrounding you shifts. You are no longer weighed down by layers of unresolved trauma, suppressed grief, or inherited beliefs. That release creates space, and in that space, light enters. The light reflects first, not in your aura or your words, but in your eyes. People may comment that you look different, but they can't quite explain why. There's a presence behind your eyes now, an awakened awareness. Your stare becomes more direct, yet softer. Your eyes may appear brighter, more open, more alive. They carry the quiet knowing of someone who has gone to the depths and returned with something sacred. This shift is a physical manifestation of profound inner work. As clarity emerges in your consciousness, it doesn't stay trapped inside, it reverberates through your being. The eyes begin to glow, not with superficial charm, but with authenticity, peace, and a resonance that words cannot fake. You may notice a subtle change in their color or the way they catch light. For some, the shift is dramatic. For others, it's barely perceptible, but unmistakable to those who see with presence. What they're sensing is not an aesthetic change, but a frequency, your frequency. The eyes become one of the most beautiful indicators of inner alchemy. They hold the story of healing, of shedding old skins, of releasing generational pain. They reveal the journey you've taken inward, the courage it took to face your shadows, and the grace it took to let them go. And in that release, there is light, a real visible light that moves through the body and settles in the eyes like a whisper of the soul saying, "I'm finally here." As someone undergoes a profound spiritual transformation, the energy surrounding them begins to shift, subtly at first, then unmistakably. It becomes lighter, more refined, more coherent. The heavy layers of fear, grief, and unconscious pain begin to lift, revealing a radiance that was always there, just hidden beneath the weight of survival and conditioning. And nowhere is this more visible than in the eyes. The eyes become more than a reflection. They become a transmission. They no longer carry the burden of guardedness or emotional armor. Instead, they mirror serenity, transparency, and truth. It's not just that your gaze becomes brighter. It's that your entire presence becomes more honest. There is less hiding, less performance. What remains is clarity. This is why the eyes often change so dramatically during a spiritual awakening. It's not cosmetic, it's energetic. The clarity you cultivate within is reflected outward in a way that bypasses language. People may not know what changed, but they feel it. They feel you. And the purity that radiates from your eyes becomes a silent invitation for others to remember who they are as well. But let's be clear, spiritual awakening is not just a makeover of the outer self. It goes far deeper than anything visible. It challenges the very foundation of how we define ourselves. One of the most powerful and at times terrifying transformations in this journey is what mystics call the death of the ego. This isn't metaphorical, it's visceral. The ego, that collection of identities, roles, defenses, and narratives we've spent a lifetime building, begins to dissolve. It's not that you cease to exist, but the version of you shaped by fear, comparison, and survival starts to unravel. And that unraveling can feel like losing your grip on reality. The roles you've played, the masks you've worn, the rules you've lived by, they begin to fall apart. You may find yourself asking questions you never dared to ask before. Who am I really? What if I'm not who I thought I was? What remains when everything I clung to begins to disappear? These are not comfortable questions. The dissolution of the ego can bring a disorienting sense of emptiness, like standing in the ruins of an identity that once felt solid. There may be grief, confusion, even fear. But this void is not a mistake. It's sacred space. The breakdown of the false self makes room for the true self to emerge. And here's the paradox. In losing who you thought you were, you begin to discover who you truly are. Yes, it's destabilizing, but it's also liberating. What falls away are the parts of you that were never truly you. Beliefs inherited, identities imposed, protections adopted. As they dissolve, what arises is something more rooted, more expansive, more real. This isn't the end of your identity. It's the rebirth of one that is aligned with your essence, not your ego. Still, the resistance to this shift can be intense. The ego doesn't go quietly. It clings to the familiar, even when the familiar no longer serves. But the more we surrender to the process, trusting that something wiser is emerging, the more grace we invite into our experience. The discomfort doesn't vanish, but it softens when we stop fighting it. That temporary sense of being lost, of not recognizing yourself anymore, that's not regression. It's realignment. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. Your former self, shaped by fear and conditioning, is being shed like an old skin. And underneath, a new self, grounded in authenticity and presence, is taking form. This is not an abandonment of identity, but a return to the self that existed long before the world told you who you should be. With spiritual awakening comes a shift not only in your internal world, but in the very way you perceive reality itself. As your inner journey deepens, your sensitivity begins to expand, physically, emotionally, and energetically. What was once subtle becomes vivid. What was once silent begins to speak. You start to feel more, sense more, and know more, without needing words or logic. One of the first signs of this heightened sensitivity is an amplified emotional awareness. You may begin to feel emotions more intensely, not just your own, but those of others as well. A passing glance, a slight change in tone, or even just someone's presence can transmit volumes. You might feel someone's sorrow before they speak, or sense their joy the moment they enter the room. It's like tuning into a frequency that was always there, but you never had the receiver for until now. This can be both a gift and a challenge. On one hand, your capacity for empathy and deep connection blossoms. You become more attuned to life in all its subtleties. But on the other hand, this sensitivity can be overwhelming, especially if your own energy field is ungrounded or scattered. Without the tools to navigate this new perception, you may find yourself absorbing emotional and energetic residue from others, feeling drained, anxious, or disoriented without knowing why. This is why energetic hygiene becomes not just helpful, but essential. As your energy becomes more refined, it also becomes more porous. You're more open to the unseen influences around you, both nourishing and disruptive. Emotions, vibrations, environments, and even objects begin to carry a tangible weight. The room isn't just a room anymore. It has a presence. A conversation isn't just words. It's a field of energy being exchanged. You begin to feel the heartbeat of the world around you in a way that's undeniable. This sensitivity is often the result of a deeper energetic alignment. As your chakras open, those subtle energy centers within the body, you gain greater access to non-physical dimensions of perception. It's not fantasy, it's resonance. You begin to perceive energy the way you used to perceive only form. And this energetic awareness offers a deeper understanding of what's really happening beneath the surface of everyday life. But let's be real, if not navigated mindfully, this new level of awareness can become exhausting. The challenge lies not in feeling too much, but in not knowing what to do with what you feel. This is where discernment becomes a sacred practice. Rather than trying to block or suppress incoming energies, you learn how to filter them. You develop energetic boundaries, not to close yourself off, but to protect your alignment. You begin to ask, "Is this mine?" before claiming an emotion as your own. You start to feel when it's time to engage and when it's time to step back. You become more sovereign in your energy, more deliberate in your presence. And this is how sensitivity becomes a superpower. When you master the ability to feel without drowning, to sense without absorbing, you unlock an extraordinary capacity, the ability to intuit truth beyond illusion. You see people not for who they pretend to be, but for who they are. You navigate life not just through intellect, but through deep, energetic knowing. You don't just listen with your ears, you listen with your whole being. This ability can lead to deeper relationships, greater creativity, and more authentic decisions. You begin to move in alignment with the subtler rhythms of life. You stop forcing and start flowing. You sense what's true, what's ready, what's calling you forward, and most importantly, you begin to trust your sensitivity as guidance, not a burden. So if you're feeling more raw, more open, more in tune than ever before, don't mistake it for weakness. This is your expansion. Your nervous system is catching up to your soul. Let your awareness grow, but let your self-care grow with it. Ground yourself, protect your peace, and honor your energy. You are not too sensitive. You are exquisitely alive. As your spiritual awakening deepens, something subtle yet powerful begins to happen. The intensity of energy moving through you increases. What once felt like a slow, meandering current now begins to surge. This acceleration isn't just internal. It starts to shape the external world around you. Manifestation speeds up. Synchronicities multiply. And suddenly, the space between intention and reality begins to shrink. Why? Because your energy is becoming more refined, more coherent, and more aligned. You're no longer weighed down by layers of suppressed emotion, outdated beliefs, or karmic residue. As these are cleared, your vibration rises, and with it, your power to influence your reality. Thoughts become things more quickly. What you focus on begins to materialize with surprising ease. It's not magic, it's alignment. You're finally in resonance with the outcomes you've long desired. But with this acceleration comes a profound paradox. Everything speeds up. The beautiful, the expansive, the joyful, yes. But also the unresolved, the hidden, the uncomfortable. Growth doesn't become easier, it becomes faster. Imagine your energy like a train. In the beginning of your journey, you were on a freight train, heavy, slow, dragging behind it old wounds, limiting patterns, and emotional baggage. That train moved, but every mile took effort. Now, after cleansing and releasing, you're on a bullet train. There's momentum, there's velocity, and there's less time to ignore what you don't want to face. This means that the highs arrive more swiftly, but so do the challenges. Unprocessed emotions may rise to the surface with force. Triggers that once lay dormant now ignite with intensity. Situations you thought were handled might come rushing back. Not to torment you, but to be healed on a deeper level. At this speed, there's no more room for avoidance. The energy is moving too fast for illusion to keep up. But don't panic. This is not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that you're ready. Your system is processing what it once couldn't handle. You're clearing blockages, not over years, but sometimes in days. And with every release, you get closer to clarity, closer to peace, closer to who you truly are beneath the static of old programming. So what do you do when life starts moving this fast? When manifestation accelerates and emotional intensity surges, you flow, you breathe. You stop trying to hold it all together and instead let go into a deeper intelligence. This is not a time for control. It's a time for conscious participation. The energy is not here to punish you. It's here to purify you. Challenges that arise at this pace are not setbacks. They are invitations. Every emotion, every trigger, every unexpected twist is a teacher asking, "Are you ready to move through this now?" The more you say yes, bravely, honestly, without resistance, the more gracefully you ride this wave. You don't have to figure it all out. You just have to stay present. Trust your body. Trust the process. Trust that the increased intensity is not chaos, it's acceleration. And you're becoming someone who can thrive in it. Remember, the higher your vibration, the faster the feedback loop between your inner world and your outer world. What you heal, you no longer attract. What you embody, you magnetize. So keep going. Let the energy move. Let the old fall away. And meet the speed of your evolution with the calm of your soul. As your spiritual awakening evolves, one of the most profound transformations begins to emerge, a rising clarity of perception. But this clarity isn't simply about seeing things more vividly. It's about seeing the truth of things. It's as though the veil has been lifted, and reality reveals itself not as you once imagined it, but as it truly is. The metaphor of a dirty window is especially fitting. Throughout our lives, our perception becomes clouded by layers of past experiences, limiting beliefs, emotional wounds, and unresolved energies. These filters distort what we see and how we interpret the world around us. But as you cleanse your energetic system, as you heal trauma and balance your chakras, something extraordinary happens. The window begins to clear. Suddenly, light gets in, and with that light comes insight. Where things once felt confusing or chaotic, they now appear in sharper focus. You begin to see beyond appearances, to the energy beneath words, to the intention behind actions. Your intuition, once muffled by emotional noise and psychic debris, becomes sharp, immediate, unmistakable. You no longer just hear what someone says, you feel what they mean. You perceive when something is authentic or inauthentic, often before anything is spoken. This isn't imagination, it's awareness. As your sensitivity deepens, so too does your ability to read the energy of people, places, and situations. The room has a frequency. A conversation has a charge. A decision has a resonance. You begin to navigate life through a subtler language, one of vibration, not just information. And that clarity becomes your compass. But it doesn't stop there. This spiritual clarity begins to penetrate even the larger structures around you. You start to see the patterns at play in society, the invisible forces shaping institutions, cultures, and systems. You begin connecting the dots between what once seemed like unrelated events. You realize that everything is interconnected, that nothing exists in isolation. This isn't just perception, it's wisdom. By clearing energetic blockages, you unlock a deeper intelligence, one that allows you to perceive life with nuance, integrity, and alignment. What once felt like noise now becomes signal. What once confused you now guides you. You make choices not out of fear or conditioning, but from a place of calm, clear knowing. And in a world that thrives on distraction, this clarity becomes a sacred gift. It becomes your guidance system, helping you not only navigate the outer world, but also reconnect with your inner truth. You begin to live with more discernment, more presence, more authenticity. You no longer chase illusions. You no longer lose yourself in noise. You return, again and again, to what's real. That's the gift of awakening. It's not about escaping the world. It's about seeing it clearly and choosing to live aligned with your truth. If something in this message resonated with you, if you felt seen, understood, or even just gently stirred, I invite you to share your reflections in the comments below. Your experience matters, and your voice might just help someone else feel less alone on their own path. Thank you again for being here. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and stay true to who you are becoming.